I'm not a native speaker, but when I was learning English as part of the required education components in my school besides my native language, I have developed some self-awareness to talk about some important elements. Learning a language for me is chunking and exposure. There are a lot of grammar detail I don't know, but I just know it is there. I don't know why the clause, if deemed necessary, is correct until I look it up. And I have to read a lot of papers to pass my college course. The second one is inference skill, and some teachers explicitly encourage that. I remember that the teacher wanted the whole class to guess what is the meaning of the word accent. Some word I don't really know needs to be either guessed or Googled. This also requires exposure, which means reading as many challenging articles or papers as possible. But on the same time, during writings, we are required to use the easy words for accessibility purpose. Some words I learned just barely being produced. And here are some hidden challenge. I didn't have a great SAT score. I only got 1400-ish, which is just average among my peers, and I enrolled in a good college under a policy, and I feel grateful. I didn't realize I had learning disability until later. I genuinely feel like shit because I wasted more than a decade due to lack of productivity and not fully develop my potential. But maybe it is not a bad thing because I may want to prescribe marijuana to as many people as possible because life is just too painful to stay fully awake. English is also not phonetically consistent. That's why I cannot read some words correctly, like relic and rely, especially when having multiple syllables. The standardized exam-grounded education also discourages chunking. There is always debate surrounding the topic. Asians are really good at nothing besides taking exams, so a lot of skills are built around taking exams instead of daily communication and reading. You may have a great SAT score, but you just cannot speak. Some tests in Asian definitely confuses the native speakers because they are built to test. The next problem is about prompt. When I try to write something for fun, either I have nothing in my brain because I'm so getting used to write under a prompt or summary, or I just too busy to have fun. So that's why I just kept farming things from peer-reviewed articles. Language can be changing. The word Google became a verb, as well as other words like cook, which is often used in passive tense as equivalent of fucked. Usually there are three learning motivations: fear, need, and interest. The motivation for language study, as well as most of the other educations, falls into the first two categories. I think the second biggest reason right now is good exposure is become fewer and fewer because even kids' book right now can be AI. AI doesn't use complex sentence and only speaks most frequent words. My peer and I took the Gen Z Kahoot test and it just doesn't work. Some people got some of the questions. There is diversity for one single generation and we may want to acknowledge that. That's my thought about generation war, which is based on stereotypes. When I was grade 1, grade 3, or grade 4 are definitely bullying us based on power imbalance, either physical or intellectual. I'm talking about this based on an empathy ground, but I think the problem is why parents use electronics to replace daycare and human interaction. I was daycare by a phone with Java games, but at least those games require me to read and really think about my gears and equipment, not pure stimuli but trial and errors. Those primitive games still require thinking, and at that time, pay to win is not a thing. I'm talking about games before the Fruit Ninja and Angry Birds. Those games are likely to pay $2.99 for perpetual license. I definitely feel neglected, and right now I don't really talk to my parents besides email, which is bi-monthly. That's the consequences. I don't have a strong relationship with my parents, and I don't want to trauma dump on you. My parents just too busy with their lives, and when they are at home, they just don't have any spare energy to interact with me, and I have to learn everything myself. I'm also too busy right now because I have challenging cases, and I don't really have time and energy to fix the relationship and overcome my own trauma. If you ask me if the kids are like having addiction, and instead of DSM-5, I want to cite the definition of 4C, which is compulsive seeking behavior, craving for stimuli, usage in despite of consequences, and cannot cut down when focus is needed. They definitely need some help before it is too late.